Hey guys, how's it going? It's been 2 months since my last video, a bit over 2 months, and today I'm going to be doing integrated testing for Tauri applications. And this is going to be a brief overview on how to get started with testing, as well as some key things to know about testing and an example. So first, before I get into, I'm not going to go over my life updates, not really relevant, but yeah, I will go over the template updates first. So if you aren't interested in that, and you have your own Tauri app and you didn't follow any other videos, you just found this randomly, just skip ahead to the prerequisites. But if you are here from previous videos, let's just show you some things I've changed. So the plugins provided by Tauri have all been migrated to this plugins workspace repository. So make sure all your plugins have that as your Git resource. The store plugin has gotten a major change. So go to your main file if you use that plugin, and instead of plugin builder, use builder. And remember, this applies when you run yarn update or whatever. So you change your dependency, it's going to update everything. So just make sure everything works like that. The other thing is I fixed some minor bugs in the application. For example, the title bar code was not, the app wouldn't run in the web. So I fixed that issue. The other thing is I changed this thing called preview and serve. So before I didn't know what vite preview did, but then I realized it did the same thing as serve, which is a global dependency I used to have. So I removed that and now I just redirected serve to vite preview because it does the same thing. And lastly, we did not, okay, yeah, there's nothing else to say. So let's get started with testing. So let's, so open up your application in an IDE, or if you use terminal, whatever, that's perfectly fine. And the first thing you want to do is do cargo install Tauri driver. This will install the Tauri driver in your system, not in your directory, but not in your project, but on your entire system. As that's going on, you want to also, if you're on Windows, you want to go to the README of my template. So sample README, I think. It doesn't matter which README. Actually, it does matter. Got to go to sample README on your template, and you want to click on this thing called install Selenium IDE because we're going to be using Selenium. And you also want to click on this WebDriver thing. So if you're on all operating systems, you want to download it for Chrome or Firefox. I'm on Firefox, so just install this add-on. And on Windows, you want to install this thing called the Microsoft Edge WebDriver. You want to click x64 and then go to your downloads directory. So you can see my downloads directory here. This is probably not a good idea. So go to your downloads directory and it's going to be in a zip. So extract that into this folder called Edge Driver. You want to click this file called MS Edge Driver, Control X or cut it. And then you want to bring it to your C Windows directory. So just paste it in here because this is already on path. If you don't have administrative privileges, just create a folder anywhere where you have permission and click and search up environment and click edit environment variables for your account. Then you want to scroll down up here and click on path, click new, and just paste the path, the folder directory wherever you pasted that executable. The other thing to note is that when you're testing, your test might fail after you update Windows. And that might be because Edge got updated. So you just have to make sure you keep your WebDriver up to date whenever you run into some issues. It's all on the README, I believe. So, it's there for troubleshooting. Now, the Selenium IDE is an extension that lets you open up the side file. So before we get into that, let's install some dependencies. Okay, so now we'll go over our node dependencies. What you want to do is do yarn install, so yarn add -d for development, chai, mocha, Selenium WebDriver, and toml. The toml part is my own addition in comparison to Tauri's own guide on how to do Selenium WebDriver testing. And that's why I'm making the video, is because I did some stuff differently and I have better advice than what they provide you. As that's installing, go to your package.json file set the type to module and set the type to module and add this script called test and make it run Mocha. So what Mocha is looking for is it's looking for a test/test.js file. Now what I want you to do is go to my template over here and just click copy or download. So you can, if you're using the new UI, you can just click copy, and if you're not, just click download the raw file. And what you want to do is you want to drag this file into, you want to create a test directory in your project file, and you want to drag this test.js file in that directory so it matches the hierarchy of my application. Okay? And the next thing you want to do is, if you're on my template, you probably want to download the app.side file as well as the toggle theme.spec.js, which is a test. So since we've done all our things, let's go over the test.js file as we're building our test. So to run your test, it doesn't matter if you copied my file because I've made my file very generalized. So as long as you're following my tutorial, or at least you have a front-end engine and you're using Vite in the front end or something, or even anything, if you're following proper conventions, you're good. So here we can see that the only conventions is the build. So as long as you're doing yarn build to build your application or front end, this file should work for you. And it doesn't matter what your cargo app name is, it'll work perfectly fine. So now I want you to run yarn test. And this is from, if you're coming from my, what's it called? If you're coming from my template, you want to run yarn test, which will run this toggle theme.spec file. Okay, so clearly I have messed something up here. So whenever a test fails, you can run yarn preview or serve, and it'll open up the browser, and we can see what went wrong. So we want to say Mantine header root, and we go here, and I don't see what the problem is. So let me just run the test again. So how the test script works is that it first builds your front end, then it builds your back end, and then it calls Tauri driver to launch your application, and everything should work out fine. So as you can see, the test passed. So sometimes you might need to run the test multiple times for it to work properly. And the reason it works so fast is because I can build the app really quickly. And the reason I can build the app really quickly is because I changed the file Tauri gave you and added my own changes to it. So the biggest change is this thing called dir comparison. So what I've done is that when the front end is being built, I first move the current build of it, or the old build, to a temporary directory. And I check if the new build is the same as the old build. And if it is, I rewrite the new build with the old build so that Rust, when Cargo builds your application and packages the front end, the Rust file, the Rust dependencies is not going to recompile everything. It's just going to, do the last step instead of having to do the entire packaging. It just does the last step. And this speeds up your testing by a factor of 100, actually whatever, 59 seconds or 53 seconds divided by, how fast was this? 0.56. So it speeds up the test time by a factor of 100 seconds or 100. So sorry, 53 seconds or 100, basically. That's what I've done for you guys. And now the question might be, how do I actually create a test? How do I create these tests for people, right? How do we do that? So that's where Selenium IDE comes into play. So over here is a basic test I've added for you guys on how to use Selenium. And it shows you how to get a CSS value, how to do comparisons. So not equal or equal. There's resources available down here on how to do all these things. Just look at chai.js or something, and it shows you maybe how to do stuff. And I have documentation there, okay? And yeah, it also shows you how to click stuff. So basically all good. And now let's go over how to do something a bit more complicated, okay? So let's open up my app and Selenium IDE. So the first thing you want to do to start with testing with Selenium IDE is build your front end and run yarn serve. So this is testing on your release version. And the next thing that is preferable is if you did this in a private window, I believe. It actually doesn't matter because my application has persistent storage, so the test has to work without an assumption of a clean UI. But anyways, go over here and click extensions and click Selenium IDE. Now, if you just installed this, you might have to go to About Add-ons and click on Run in Private Windows. But yeah, it's really unnecessary to use a private window because, as I said, your app might be what's the word for it again? Your app might have persistent storage. So over here, I'm going to delete my old application and we're going to call it scenario 1. Okay, so I'll show you how to create a test with Selenium IDE and how to convert it to be used in your own thing. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your localhost is the same. And I'm not sure what I did here, but let me show you what I did. So we have to do this again. So go over here. Click Selenium IDE. Okay, click Open an Existing Project and click the app.side file in your directory that if you're using my template, or if you are coming here from your own app, click Record a New Test in a New Project. So I have this here, and the first thing I want to do is delete this test because it's not really useful anymore to me. And I'm going to call this scenario 1. You can call it whatever you want because I'm going to be testing a lot of stuff. Okay, so if you are coming here from what's that called, a new app, you won't have a base URL. You'll have to set that when you click record. If you're coming here from my template, just make sure that confirm this is the right URL, because as you can see, when you're running yarn serve, it's completely different. So you just want to make sure that the URL is good only for creating tests. Okay, and after that's done, click record and it'll launch a new window with everything. And let's get started with the typing. So when you have values, all you have to do, if you already know what the values are, you can paste them in and things should be relatively good for you. So I just want to test this out again. So if I go here and I paste this in, we're all good. So then I go here and I go tab, I paste this in, okay? And we keep going down and I say, no, it hasn't, no, it hasn't, no, it hasn't. Corporation type, Canadian CPC. No, it doesn't. Tax start here. Let's say 2022, January 1st. And I'll probably improve this later to do the year edition. And we want to say 2022, December 31st. Okay. So then we do all this and we can go down and, I'm not going to go over everything because it'll take too long. But after you're done with your test, you want to click stop. The next thing you want to do is click save. And it'll open up the save as URL and just click the same file that we opened from and it'll overwrite. And then the next thing you want to do is export the test. So let's click export, click JavaScript Mocha, and then click export. Now I'm working on I'm going to be working in the future on a way to export, to make the exports more Tauri friendly. Because as you see right now, it uses the other ways, it has no semicolons, and it doesn't use the Tauri driver, it uses Firefox. So how do I convert this to use Tauri, like a spec file? So we can look at how the toggle theme.spec file works, and we can do the exact same thing as we did here. So we copy these imports and go up here and paste those imports. And then we want to remove this let driver variable. and we want to remove the set of it. And then we want to remove this driver.quit as well, so that we get all this. And we want to remove these two lines with the where we get the URL as set the window size, okay? Aside from that, everything should be relatively simple, except for, of course, you probably want to add some semicolons. And yeah, that is basically it. And since this is a spec file in the test directory, you don't have to include it anywhere. Mocha will run automatically. Now, whether I want to demo that, not really into it because I already showed you that the demo works in the modern template. And this test is incomplete anyways, it doesn't really do much. So I hope you got a lot from this. I think I included everything I wanted to talk about. And yeah, in the next video, I'll be doing, it's not a Tauri video, but I improved my Rust tutorial. So I'm going to be making a video on that. And yeah, the quotation marks are double, so you'll probably want to change that to single as well. But anyways, again, I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys are doing well. It's been about 2 months. And yeah, if you're interested in what I've been working on, I'm doing some C# development. So I'll see you in the next one.